Am I the butthole for refusing to visit my brother and his newborn because of what he did 2 years ago? I, male 33, lost my wife 2 years ago. Right now I'm a single dad of my 9-year-old son. My wife had cancer. It was too much for her to take, but she always said that our son was her strength. She was receiving treatment and spending time at home with our son. She always said that she wanted to spend as much time at home with our son as possible. She just knew. I took care of our son's needs, as well as household. Her family was very supportive. Her sister helped by driving her to the hospital. But my family didn't do much. My brother, aged 37, kept coming over and making comments about how our home was a mess and unhealthy for our son. Claimed that he was being neglected and asked what would happen to him after my wife passed away. He bluntly said that it was unfair for our son to live like that. And kept being negative and telling those things to my wife, making her feel bad and worried. I told him to stop coming over and just leave us alone. I was angry with him. I went low contact. And 1 month before my wife passed away, I had a visit from the CPS. My wife was home when they came. They did an interview with me and my son. I explained my wife's condition and they talked to her sister and informed me that someone called them and filed a report about our situation and possible neglect in our house. Eventually nothing came out of the report. My wife never stopped crying. She got very sick that night. And I'm sure she felt helpless, as if she was a bad mother. I assured her that she was in fact stronger than most people and that the report was nothing, so she shouldn't have been worried. But she couldn't help it. My dad called me a week after, telling me to be careful. My brother reported me to CPS and was bragging about it, hoping they'd take action. I was livid. I got into a huge argument with him and all who defended him, and I cut contact with him right then. After my wife's funeral, no one visited except for her sister. I talked to my family, but I haven't talked to my brother for 2 years after what he did and all the stress he caused my wife. Last week my mom called me to tell me my brother and his wife had a baby boy and wanted me to bring my son and visit him. I refused. She called me unreasonable and told me to let my son meet his cousin and uncle. To just forgive and forget. She kept pressuring me despite saying I don't want to. My dad himself said it's time for us to reconcile and get together as a family. I ended up yelling at them that I won't forget the scene my brother made before my wife passed away, and claiming that we were bad parents, knowing that we were struggling and doing all we can. They just kept insisting I visit and see how it goes. But I still refused. AITA? My brother didn't apologize. I only talked to my parents. This is his first baby with his wife. They had issues with miscarriages in the past. Not the butthole. I'd let them all know. You'll go no contact with them too if they keep this up. Last I checked, the sister was the only one actually helping and the only one to come to your wife's funeral. They all suck. Not disagreeing in general, but I think you misread about the funeral. I'm fairly sure what it means to say is that only the wife's sister visited after the funeral, although I think the wording is a little unclear. That's what I understood too. His family did nothing to help before or after the funeral. He was already struggling to keep things together while his wife was dying, and his butthole of a brother dropped CPS on him. Then after she died, they still didn't do crap to help him and their grandson. The more I think about it, I'm not quite sure what the original poster has had to talk about with his parents for the past 2 years. Yeah, if it was my sibling in that situation, I would be trying to make it easier. Like ask them if they would like help cleaning, cooking, etc. I can't believe how rude the brother was. When I was 12 and my brother was 9, our mom died of cancer. The house was a complete tip. My dad barely had the time or energy to keep us fed, let alone clean the house. You know what his brother did? He moved in and took over all the cleaning, drove us to and from school, cooked big nutritious meals so my dad had something good to eat when he came home from the hospital. He helped us with homework, kept on top of laundry, took us for walks with the dog. That's how a real brother acts in this situation. He knuckles down and helps rather than lurk snidely in the background, mocking his family's struggles and causing unnecessary stress and drama for a dying woman. I love how the brother was significant other, concerned about the state of the house his nephew lives in, but didn't bother help clean up or paying a cleaning service as a gift, straight to CPS. WTF. Not to mention, with the foster system being what it is in the US, there's almost zero chance that CPS could have improved the boy's life in any way, and quite a lot of opportunities for making it way worse. You call CPS for abuse, dangerous neglect and other situations bad enough that being sent to live with a literal stranger is better than remaining with the parents. Not because the house is a little bit messy and the main caretaker is overworked, but clearly still very much caring. So what the F did the brother expect his call to achieve? I have a very hard time believing he was trying to help the kid. It sounds like hurting original poster and Sil was exactly the desired outcome, just like the underhanded and snide comments he made in person. Some people just need to put others down so they can feel better about themselves. Not the butthole, and anyone pressuring original poster to just get over it while the brother hasn't even apologized can get bent. TBH, it sounds like the brother was trying to virtue signal that he's a nice guy. NTA, he definitely isn't. Did say in the original poster that she was only one to appear after the funeral, not for the funeral. What Op's brother did was the ultimate betrayal. He knew his Sil was dying and didn't give a crap. He instead tried to get CPS to take his nephew away from his dying mom and dad. What the hell was his motive? Does he hate Op? Is he jealous that original poster and his wife had the first grandchild, or what? There's no coming back from this. His motive? He gets custody of his nephew. Maybe I'm spending too much time on this sub, but original poster mentioned his brother and brother's wife have had fertility issues. Wouldn't this be an easy way to simultaneously become a dad and save a kid from a terrible home? You're right though. There is no coming back from this. Brother lost his ability to be called that when he betrayed family like that. Edit. Thank you kind internet strangers for 2 awards. Wow. I thought the same thing. The uncle wants to save his brother child to take himself. The whole family would be blocked if they were mine. What horrible people. You know what would have been a good way to ensure the cold was not neglected by his dying mother? For him to be there as much as possible, take care of his blood kin, be the uncle, brother and friend he should have been. He would have become a second father in the eyes of the child. Or at the very least a not crap uncle, like what he is now, person facepalming, olive skin. Agreed. I agree with your view on this. If the brother cared so much for his nephew, he could have come over, help original poster and his wife with some housework, been a mentor to a young boy in a rough situation. But nah, he called CPS and bragged from his soapbox. What an ass. That's how my aunt got to raise 2 of my siblings. If that was his real motive and not the well-being of the child, still wrong and misguided but not inherently evil, then that guy is lower than dog dirt and no brother to anyone. I really hope that's not the case, because people who would do something like that to their own brother are dangerous. If he were actually concerned with the well-being of his nephew, he would have offered to help out in some capacity to make the child's living conditions better, not just criticized and then called CPS. He could have offered to clean or make meals or anything to lift the burden from original poster and his dying wife. From what original poster said, his brother was hoping they would take action, presumably in the form of taking the child away, rather than offer support to actually make his nephew's life better while his mother was dying. Then he offered no help or support after the wife died. He doesn't give a damn about his nephew's well-being in reality. He still had the audacity to brag. I wonder what kind of parent the brother-in-law will become and how his kids will turn out. Some people are just petty and don't care. And hateful. And prejudiced, spiteful, unhappy with themselves so everyone else must also suffer. Some men just want to see the world burn. I have a son with a lot of health conditions. He has CP and, amongst other things, eczema. When he was in 1st grade or so, his eczema was painfully bad. The principal called CPS on me because of a bad flare-up he had on his chest area. I told him it was eczema. He disagreed and said the school nurse said it was not eczema. CPS came out and examined him and were pissed because the principal was raising false accusations. They closed the case. The following day the principal received a fax from my son's pediatrician pretty much saying that my son had severe eczema and to leave us alone. Luckily in time we found what worked for him and we cleared it up. Mostly. Later I found out he was a miserable, childless man. I don't know what became of him, except that I did report him to the district and he had finally found true love and got married. This was my first thought after reading the post, and I questioned if I was reading into it too much and making up whack conspiracies, so I'm glad someone else thinks the same. Grimacing face. Yep. Or he thought, he has a child and doesn't deserve one. I deserve one. I'll get his taken away. Unbelievable. Can't see past his own selfishness to realize Op's wife is literally dying. Op, I'm so sorry for your loss, and the pain your brother put you and your wife through. You are definitely not the butthole. You are right, CPS places removed kids with close relatives all the time. I think that this is exactly what they were gunning for. My exact thoughts too. His motive was his jealousy that his brother had a son and he was having miscarriages. Honestly, he should have seen it as an opportunity to help out. I have a friend with an infant in a children's hospital right now, and my family and I and my church have been offering to clean, cook meals, shovel, etc. Yep. It's during the tough times where you can really see who's family, and who's not. Your wife's sister was family. Your family, on the other hand, were not. The fact that they think you should forgive your brother because we're family when they wouldn't even bother coming to your wife's funeral is a effing joke. Cut them out of your life, you don't have to put up with their crap. Exactly. Keep your brother away, and your family too if they continue to take his side. Do they not understand what he did? What if CPS would have taken your son away? That's what he wanted, and that's unforgivable. Especially during your wife's struggle with cancer. Unbelievable. Not to mention, what's to stop the brother, if they do reconcile, from getting touchy over some imagined slight and calling CPS on him again? As someone said above, there doesn't have to be anything wrong. The caller can flat out make things up, and CPS has to visit. And when they do, it's stressful and frightening for the family, even if everything is alright. Those of you with kids, imagine your place on your worst day, when you had the flu, or the kids had been sick, or they'd been running around making a mess while you were trying to get something done. Now imagine that right then, CPS knocks on your door. Everyone has days when their housekeeping isn't perfect. Well, most people, anyway. Now imagine the stress of never knowing when they might show up and feeling you have to keep everything showroom perfect at all times. Plus, the brother is a butthole. I'd be tempted to say I also believe in family. And I have a family, wife, sister and parents, or whatever family his late wife had. They've been wonderful to me, and son loves them to pieces. I just don't get it. If the house is a mess and your brother is consumed caring for his dying wife, you clean the house. You stock the fridge with cooked meals to be microwaved. Hell, if you are too far, you pay for a couple of hours of a housekeeper every couple of weeks. You don't go, this place is a mess, and report them to CPS. The thing that doesn't make sense to me is, why didn't the brother try to be a good brother and help clean up the house if he was so worried? Why go straight to CPS? Op said his brother and the partner struggled for years to conceive a child of their own, so maybe it was a combination of ego, rescuing a child from perceived terrible circumstances, combined with a desire to gain custody of Op's young child for himself? It may seem like a bit of a reach to any normal person, but Op's brother has since proven himself to be a special kind of evil. A decent person would have offered to help around the house or hire someone to if they had means. Or shut the hell up and not judge, because guaranteed, it was not as bad as that jackass claimed it was. NTA. You have no reason to reconcile with someone who doesn't think they were wrong. Yep, not the butthole at all. I'd remind the family that the brother having a baby is inconsequential compared to the mother of Op's child dying. If ever there was a time for the family to apologize and reconcile, it would have been to visit original poster after the funeral and help him out. NTA. He tried to have your son removed from you while your wife was dying and bragged about it. He'd be dead to me. The class act would be to help clean up the house. This was despicable. Not the butthole. He has a kid now? Call CPS. Maybe I'm paranoid, but, given the brother's wife's miscarriages and how he kept pressing and harassing Op, maybe he was hoping that original poster would lose custody and brother could have a free kid. Or maybe he was super bitter that someone that he felt was undeserving had a kid and he didn't. Unforgivable. This is more likely it. It's like being an incel, except instead of being mad at women for not dating you, you are mad at people for having children that you, at the time, can't have, so you are bitter and angry. I mean, I get the impulse on some level. I'm a single woman and all of my friends have started having kids around me just over the past 2 years. Sometimes the pregnancy announcements make me feel sad for myself instead of instantly just happy for them, but I suck it the F up and show them support and love, because while I'm human and susceptible to human reactions, I'm also not a complete piece of trash. Right, what you are describing is not necessarily abnormal and wrong. There are lots of things that go into it, but you keep it level-headed and, as you say, move on and support them. It is not an attack against you, and you are allowed to feel how you feel, but not allowed, in the sense of what's acceptable behavior, to lash out at them for it. Only case I could see that as reasonable, to lash out, would be if someone was like, having babies and harassing you about how you don't have one, which would just be weird all its own. You sound like a good person. Your immediate reaction is completely normal. I've been there with infertility. Your second reaction is awesome. I like you. Which is the important thing, basically. It's not about how we feel, we can't help that. It is how we react and what we do as a result that defines who we are as people, because that is the part we have control over. Holy crap, this didn't even occur to me, and now I'm more depressed about humanity. Honestly. That never crossed my mind. Clearly I'm not jaded with life enough. And to be honest, it wouldn't take much class, just basic human decency. Makes my blood boil. You would think that he'd want to help. Exactly. Any decent person would offer to help them out. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.